The crystal towers of Luminos glowed with fear. So Young pressed her translucent hands against the communication console, her body flickering between blue and red as emotions coursed through her crystalline form. The Valari had never known terror like this. "The outer colonies are gone," reported Hyunwoo, his young voice shaking as data flowed through the crystal networks. "Korath system fell 3 hours ago. The swarm consumed everything." So Young closed her eyes. The Kreth were coming. These insect-like creatures had devoured 17 star systems in their path toward Luminos. They ate everything: planets, moons, space stations, and all life they found. The Valari Republic had no weapons to fight them. They had never needed weapons before. "Send the message again," So Young ordered. "Broadcast it to every star system in range." Hyunwoo nodded and activated the long-range transmitter. His fingers danced over the crystal controls as he sent their desperate plea across space. "This is the Valari Republic. We are peaceful people facing extinction. A hostile swarm is destroying our worlds. We offer all our technology to any species willing to help us survive. Please respond." The message traveled through space for days. Most alien species who received it deleted it immediately. They knew about the Kreth swarm. Fighting them meant death. Only one species was foolish enough to even consider helping. Far away on the edge of human space, Captain Daeho sat in his command chair aboard the monitoring station Prometheus Watch. His crew of 12 humans spent their days listening for alien signals. Most of the time they heard nothing interesting. "Captain," called Lieutenant Bo Young from her station, "I'm picking up a transmission. It's not in any language our computers recognize." Daeho walked over to her console. "Play it." The bridge, filled with musical tones that somehow conveyed sadness and fear. Their translation computers worked for several minutes before converting the alien words into human language. When Daeho heard the message, he sat down hard in his chair. "They're asking for help," he said quietly. "From who?" asked Bo Young. "From anyone. They say they're peaceful people being attacked by something called the Kreth swarm." The crew gathered around to listen to the message again. The aliens called themselves the Valari Republic. They described beautiful crystal cities and a civilization that had never known war. They offered their advanced technology to anyone who would help them fight an enemy that was eating their worlds. "Should we report this to Earth Command?" asked Ensign Tae-min. Daeho stared at the star charts showing the Valari's location. It was far outside human space in a region they had never explored. "Yes," he said. "But first, let's send a reply." He activated the transmitter and spoke into the microphone. "Valari Republic, this is Captain Daeho of the human vessel Prometheus. Watch. We received your distress call. Help is coming." Back on Luminos, Hyunwoo nearly fell from his chair when the response arrived. "High Counselor," he shouted. "Someone answered." So Young rushed to his station. Her crystalline body glowed bright white with hope. "Who are they?" "They call themselves humans," Hyunwoo said, reading the translation. "Their captain says help is coming." "Humans," So Young repeated the alien word. "Run a database search. What do we know about this species?" The crystal computers searched through all Valari records. They found almost nothing. Humans were mentioned in only a few reports from trading posts at the edge of known space. The reports called them Deathworlders, creatures that evolved on planets so dangerous that most life could not survive there. Deathworlders, Hyunwoo read aloud. "It says they come from a world of extreme weather, poisonous plants, and predatory animals. They are considered one of the most dangerous species in known space." So Young felt her hope dim. Were they trading one threat for another? But as she looked at the tactical display showing Kreth ships moving toward their home system, she knew they had no choice. "Send them our coordinates," she ordered. "Tell them about the Kreth swarm. Give them all the information we have." The next few days passed slowly. Kreth scout ships appeared at the edge of the Luminos system. The crystal cities prepared for the worst. Some Valari wanted to evacuate, but there was nowhere to go. The Kreth were faster than their ships. Then the sensors detected something impossible. Ships were arriving from the direction of human space, not one or two ships, but hundreds, then thousands. "High Counselor," Hyunwoo said, his voice filled with wonder. "The humans didn't just send help. They sent everything. On the main viewer, So Young saw the largest fleet she had ever imagined. Human ships of every size and type filled space near Luminos. Military vessels bristled with weapons. Cargo ships had been fitted with armor and guns. Even small civilian craft had joined. The massive Armada, a communication came from the lead ship. Valari Republic, this is Admiral Jin Ho of the Human Terra Defense Force. We're here to help. So Young activated the transmitter with shaking hands. Admiral Jin Ho, we are grateful beyond words, but you must understand. The Kreth swarm has destroyed everything in their path. They have never been defeated. Jin Ho's voice came back calm and confident. High Counselor, you sent a distress call to Deathworlders. We know how to fight. As if summoned by his words, the Kreth swarm emerged from hyperspace. Thousands of black insect ships spread across the system like a plague. They had come to consume another world. But this time their prey had guardians. So Young watched from the crystal towers as the human fleet moved to intercept the Kreth. The aliens had asked for help from peaceful beings like themselves. Instead, they had awakened predators who traveled across the galaxy to answer a stranger's call for aid. The battle for Luminos was about to begin. Admiral Jin Ho stood on the bridge of the battleship Terra's Shield, watching the largest human fleet ever assembled. Ships stretched in every direction. Military destroyers, corporate mining vessels, civilian cargo haulers, and even modified pleasure craft. All of them were heading toward Valari space. Sir, we're receiving another transmission from Earth Command, reported Communications Officer Sujin. They're ordering us to wait for proper authorization before engaging the Kreth swarm. Jin Ho smiled grimly. Tell Earth Command that authorization is no longer relevant. Half the human fleet is already civilian volunteers. I can't order them to stop. It had started 3 days ago when Captain Daeho's report reached Earth. The news spread through human space faster than any official message. Someone had sent a distress call. Someone needed help. Within hours, ships began moving. Captain Minho was loading cargo on the outer rim when he heard about the Valari. His ship Iron Phoenix was old and slow, designed for hauling metal ore between asteroid mines, but Minho had spent 20 years in the military before becoming a merchant. He knew how to fight. Boss, you sure about this? Asked his engineer Youngwoo, as they welded weapon mounts to the ship's hull. We're talking about fighting aliens that eat planets. Minho tightened another bolt on the missile launcher they had bought from a military surplus dealer. Those crystal people asked for help. Nobody else in the galaxy answered except us. But we're just a cargo ship. So are half the ships heading to Valari space, Minho replied. Sometimes being human means doing the right thing, even when it's dangerous. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out on thousands of ships. The asteroid mining consortium sent their entire security fleet, led by corporate security chief Yoonji. She had convinced the board that protecting the Valari would open new trade opportunities. The Valari offered their technology to whoever helps them, she explained during a video conference. Their crystal-based systems could revolutionize our mining operations. But even Yoonji knew the real reason she was going. The recordings of the Valari distress call had spread through human networks. Everyone had heard the fear in those musical voices. Someone needed help, and humans couldn't ignore that. Commander Dong-woo of the elite Void Reapers Special Forces unit was already preparing his troops when the official orders came through. His soldiers were the best fighters humanity had produced, veterans of the Titan War and the Asteroid Belt Campaign. Listen up, he told his assembled troops. We're going to fight an enemy that has conquered dozens of star systems. They've never been defeated. They outnumber us thousands to one. The soldiers grinned. They had faced impossible odds before. Sir, asked Sergeant Hyojin, what do we know about these Kreth? They're insects. They swarm. They eat everything in their path, Dongwoo replied. But they've never fought humans before. They don't know what they're up against. As the human fleet converged on Valari space, Jinho tried to organize the chaos. Military ships formed the core of the fleet, but civilian vessels outnumbered them 3 to 1. Miners, traders, explorers, and even tourists had armed their ships and joined the Armada. Admiral, reported Tactical Officer Youngwoo, We're receiving hundreds of communications from civilian captains requesting battle assignments. Jinho looked at the tactical display. Over 2,000 human ships were approaching Luminos. It was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Put me through to all ships. The communication channel opened to every vessel in the fleet. Jinho's voice reached miners and admirals, corporate executives and military specialists, all united by a simple human instinct. This is Admiral Jinho to all ships. In 2 hours, we'll reach Valari space. We're going to fight an enemy that has destroyed 17 star systems. They think the Valari are helpless prey. They're about to learn they picked the wrong species. To threaten. Cheers echoed across the communication channel from thousands of ships. The Valari are peaceful people who have never known war. Jinho continued. They asked for help, and we answered. Not because we had to, but because that's who we are. Today we show the galaxy what happens when someone threatens the innocent. As the fleet approached Luminos, they began receiving transmissions from the Valari. The aliens sounded amazed and frightened at the same time. They had expected a few ships, maybe a small rescue force. Instead, an entire human civilization had mobilized to help them. Captain Minho listened to the Valari communications while making final preparations on Iron Phoenix. His crew of 6 had never fought aliens before, but they knew their ship, and they knew each other. Captain, said Navigator Boram, the Valari are asking about our battle experience. They want to know if we've ever fought the Kreth before. Tell them no, Minho replied, checking his weapon systems. But remind them that humans don't need practice to fight. We were born for it. On Terra's shield, Admiral Jinho received updates from his scouts. The Kreth swarm was massive, over 5,000 ships approaching Luminos from multiple directions. The human fleet was outnumbered more than 2 to 1. Sir, asked his aide, Lieutenant Kyungmin, shouldn't we warn the civilian ships? This is going to be a slaughter. Jinho looked at the tactical display again. Human ships were spreading out in attack formations that had never been taught in any academy. Somehow, captains who had never worked together were coordinating like they shared the same mind. Lieutenant, you're right about the slaughter, Jinho said quietly. But I don't think we're the ones who should be worried. In the depths of space, the Kreth swarm detected the approaching human fleet. For 1,000,000 years, they had conquered every species they encountered. Nothing had ever stood against them successfully. These new creatures would be consumed like all the others. But as the Kreth analyzed human ship movements, something unusual appeared in their data. These prey animals were not fleeing. They were advancing in attack formations. For the first time in their species' history, the Kreth experienced something they had no word for. The closest human translation would be doubt. The first time So Young saw a human, she nearly shattered from fear. Admiral Jinho materialized on the crystal platform in the heart of Luminos, brought down by human transport technology. He was tall and solid, wearing dark military clothing, covered with metal decorations. His eyes moved constantly, scanning for threats that didn't exist. Everything about him screamed predator. High Counselor, he said, his voice deep and rough. I'm Admiral Jinho. We need to discuss battle plans. So Young forced herself to remain calm, but her crystalline body flickered between colors as emotions fought inside her. The human had weapons attached to his belt. She could see the outline of more weapons under his clothing. Even his stance suggested he was ready to fight at any moment. Admiral, she managed to say, we are grateful for your help, but perhaps we should first establish proper diplomatic protocols. Jinho looked confused. High Counselor, the Kreth, will be here in 6 hours. We don't have time for diplomacy. Dr. Taewon stepped forward from the human group. As the expedition's xenobiologist, he had studied what little information they had about the Valari. Admiral, if I may. The Valari have never experienced military conflict. They need time to understand our methods. So Young was grateful for the doctor's calmer voice, but he still frightened her. All humans did. Their faces showed emotions that changed quickly and unpredictably. Their movements were efficient and controlled, like the predators in Valari historical records from their ancient past. Dr. Taewon is correct, So Young said. We have never known war. Our civilization developed around harmony and peaceful cooperation. The concept of organized violence is alien to us. Jinho's expression softened slightly. High Counselor, I understand this is difficult, but the Kreth swarm has destroyed 17 of your star systems. They're coming to destroy this one too. We need your help to save your people. What kind of help? Asked Council Member Hyunwoo, his young voice trembling. Information about your planet's defenses, population centers, evacuation routes, Jinho replied. And we need to understand your technology. Those crystal ships of yours might give us an advantage. The Valari Council members exchanged glances, their bodies flickering with nervous light patterns. Finally, So-young spoke. Admiral, you must understand. We have no defenses because we never needed them. We have no evacuation routes because we never considered that our world might be attacked. Our crystal ships are designed for peaceful exploration, not combat. Dr. Tae-wan pulled out a portable computer and showed the Valari images of human worlds. This is Earth, our home planet. These are our cities protected by defensive shields and weapon systems. This is normal for us. The Valari stared at the images in horror. Human cities looked like fortresses. Their buildings were designed to withstand attacks. Military bases dotted the landscape like scars. Your world is beautiful, So-young said quietly, but it looks like a place where war is expected. Because it is, Jinho replied. Humans learned long ago that peace must be defended. That's why we're here. In space above Luminos, the human fleet continued to arrive. Captain Minho brought Iron Phoenix into orbit and stared down at the crystal cities below. They looked like works of art floating in the clouds, too delicate and beautiful to be real. Boss, said Engineer Youngwoo, how do we protect something like that? Those cities look like they'd break if you looked at them wrong. Minho studied the tactical displays. The Valari had no defensive installations, no military bases, no weapon systems at all. Their entire civilization was built around the idea that violence was impossible. We protect them by making sure the Kreth never get close, he said. Meanwhile, the Kreth swarm approached the edge of the Luminos system. War leader Jun Seo coordinated the massive fleet from his command ship. The Kreth had encountered thousands of species in their expansion across the galaxy. All had followed the same pattern: initial resistance, then panic, then surrender. But something was wrong with this system. The prey species should be fleeing. Instead, unknown ships filled the space around their world. Ships that moved like hunters, not prey. War leader, reported Scout Commander Bin Young. We have identified the unknown vessels. They belong to a species called humans. Jun Seo accessed the Kreth database. Humans were mentioned in their records as dangerous Deathworlders, but they had never encountered them directly. The reports said they came from a planet so hostile that it had created ultimate predators. How many ships? Jun Seo asked. Over 2,000. They appear to be preparing for battle. Jun Seo felt something unusual in his hive mind connection. Confusion. In a million years of conquest, no species had ever brought reinforcements to fight the Kreth. Prey animals ran or hid. They didn't call for help from other predators. Back on Luminos, the cultural exchange continued with mixed results. Dr. Tae-wan tried to explain human military tactics to the Valari Council, but they had no reference point for understanding concepts like strategy, casualties, or acceptable losses. You must understand, Dr. Tae-wan said gently. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know how to defeat enemies like the Kreth. But at what cost? Asked Council Member Bora, her crystalline form glowing with distress. How many of your people will die? Hopefully none, Jinho replied. But if necessary, all of us. That's what it means to defend something worth protecting. The Valari couldn't comprehend the concept. In their society, individual life was sacred. The idea that someone would willingly die to protect strangers was beyond their understanding. Admiral, So-young said carefully, we are grateful for your sacrifice, but we must ask, why are you doing this? What do humans gain from helping us? Jinho was quiet for a moment. High Counselor, sometimes there doesn't need to be a reason beyond doing what's right. You asked for help. We answered. As the hours passed, both species struggled to understand each other. The Volari were amazed by human technology and terrified by human nature. The humans were impressed by Volari achievements and worried about their innocence. Finally, the sensors detected movement at the edge of the system. The Kreeth swarm had arrived and the battle for Luminos was about to begin. "Admiral," So Young said, her voice steady despite her fear, "our people are in your hands." Jin Ho nodded grimly. "High Counselor, they're in good hands. We've never lost a world we swore to protect." The crystal cities of Luminos glowed brighter as their inhabitants prepared for their first taste of war. The Kreeth swarm attacked at dawn, Luminos time. 5,000 insect ships descended on the system like a black plague, moving in perfect formation. War leader Jun Seo had commanded this attack pattern 100 times before. The swarm would overwhelm local defenses, consume all resistance, then begin harvesting the planet. But as the first wave of Kreeth fighters engaged the human fleet, something went wrong. "War leader," reported Fighter Commander Sung Ho, his voice filled with confusion. "The prey ships are not behaving correctly." Jun Seo accessed the battle data through the hive mind network. The human ships should have formed defensive positions around their planet. Instead, they were spreading out and attacking in small groups. Some ships were even fleeing toward the outer system. "They're running," Jun Seo concluded. "Deploy pursuit. Formations, don't let any escape," but Commander Dongwu wasn't running. He was setting a trap. Aboard his stealth ship, Dark Hunter, Dongwu watched Kreeth pursuit ships chase what appeared to be fleeing human cargo vessels. The aliens took the bait perfectly, following the retreating ships into the asteroid belt, between Luminos and its outer moon. "Now," he whispered into his communicator. Hidden throughout the asteroid field, human ships powered up their weapons. Captain Minho's Iron Phoenix emerged from behind a massive rock, its crude missile launchers targeting surprised Kreeth fighters. All around the belt, civilian ships that had appeared helpless revealed military-grade weapons. The Kreeth pursuit force found itself surrounded and outgunned. In minutes, over 300 alien ships were destroyed. "What just happened?" Jun Seo demanded through the hive mind. "The fleeing ships were bait," Fighter Commander Sung Ho reported. "They led us into an ambush." Jun Seo had never encountered such tactics. In the Kreeth way of war, armies met in open space and fought until one side was destroyed. Deception and trickery were unknown concepts. "Adapt formation," he ordered. "Concentrate all ships for direct assault on the planet." But Admiral Jin Ho had anticipated this response. As the Kreeth fleet regrouped for a massive attack, human ships appeared behind them. The fleeing vessels had circled around during the asteroid battle and now caught the swarm from the rear. Tactical Officer Ye Jin coordinated the complex battle from her position aboard Terra's shield. She had studied every battle in human history, from ancient Earth wars to recent space conflicts. The Kreeth fought like insects, with overwhelming numbers and no imagination. "All ships, execute Pattern 7, she broadcast to the human fleet. The human formation split into 5 groups, each attacking the Kreeth from a different angle. When the aliens moved to counter one group, another would strike from an unexpected direction. It was like watching a pack of wolves hunt a massive but clumsy prey animal. On the surface of Luminos, the Volari watched the battle through their crystal viewing systems. So Young stood in the main observatory, amazed by what she was seeing. "They're dancing," she said to Dr. Tae Wan, who had remained on the planet to coordinate with Volari authorities. "It's called tactics," the human doctor explained. "Your Admiral Jin Ho is conducting the battle like a symphony. Every ship knows its part. But the Kreeth were learning too." War leader Jun Seo began adapting to human tactics. When the next human attack group tried to strike from an unexpected angle, they found Kreeth ships waiting for them. "The aliens are getting smarter," reported Captain Jae Young from the destroyer Soul's Fury. "They're predicting our movements." Admiral Jin Ho studied the tactical display. The Kreeth had superior numbers and were beginning to counter human strategies. "Time for a different approach. All civilian ships begin retreat toward Luminos," he ordered. Captain Minho received the order with confusion. "Admiral, you want us to run?" "Trust me, Captain. Fall back to the planet. Make it look desperate. Across the human fleet, civilian vessels began what appeared to be a panicked retreat. The Kreth, sensing victory, pursued aggressively. Junseo ordered his entire swarm to follow the fleeing humans toward Luminos. But as the Kreth approached the crystal planet, they discovered why humans had chosen this world to defend. Luminos wasn't just beautiful, it was naturally fortified. The planet's unique crystal formations created energy fields that disrupted Kreth weapons. The floating crystal cities generated interference that confused alien targeting systems. War Leader, reported Navigation Commander Ho Jin, "Our weapons are losing effectiveness as we approach the planet." Junseo realized the trap too late. The humans had studied Luminos and discovered its natural defenses. They had deliberately lured the Kreth into the planet's protective field. Now the human fleet struck from all sides. Ships that had appeared to be retreating turned and attacked with devastating effectiveness. The Kreth found themselves caught between the human fleet and a planet that seemed to be fighting against them. Commander Dongwu led the ground assault on Kreth ships that had been forced to land on Luminos. His Void Reapers moved through the crystal caverns like ghosts, using Valari tunnel systems to appear behind enemy positions. "Sergeant Hyjin, take your squad through the northern crystal formations," he ordered. "The Kreth won't expect an attack from that direction." The sergeant led her soldiers through passages that sparkled with natural light. The Valari had built their underground systems for beauty and harmony. Now human soldiers were using them for war. The Kreth had never fought in such an environment. Their swarm tactics were useless in the narrow crystal tunnels. Human soldiers, trained for individual combat, picked them off one by one. Above the planet, the space battle reached its climax. Admiral Jin Ho coordinated the final assault, while Tactical Officer Ye Jin managed hundreds of ships in a three-dimensional dance of destruction. "All ships converge on the Kreth command vessel," Jin Ho ordered. War Leader Junseo watched in horror as human ships surrounded his flagship. His mighty swarm was being destroyed by creatures that fought like the nightmares his species had forgotten they could have. "How is this possible?" he broadcast to the hive mind. "They are outnumbered. Their ships are smaller. How are they winning?" The answer came from Scout Commander Bin Young, whose ship was being pursued by 3 human fighters. "War Leader, they fight like each ship has its own mind. They adapt. They learn. They make us afraid. Fear." The Kreth had a word for it, but had never experienced it. For 1,000,000 years they had been the predators. Now they were learning what it felt like to be prey. As his flagship's shields failed and human weapons locked onto his position, Junseo sent a final message to the surviving Kreth ships. "Retreat. Warn the others. The humans are not prey." Goodbye. Remnants of the Kreth swarm fled the Luminos system, leaving behind over half their ships. The greatest predators in known space had been defeated by Deathworlders who answered a stranger's call for help. In the crystal cities below, the Valari celebrated their first military victory while trying to understand the creatures who had saved them. 3 days after the battle, engineer Sunwoo made a discovery that would change both species forever. He was working in the damaged crystal mines beneath Luminos, helping repair Valari technology damaged during the Kreth ground assault. The crystals that powered Valari civilization were more complex than any human technology, but somehow, Sunwoo found himself understanding their function instinctively. "Dr. Bora," he called to his Valari partner, "what happens if we connect human neural interfaces to your crystal networks?" The Valari scientist's body flickered with uncertain colors. "That should be impossible. Our crystals respond only to Valari thought patterns." But when Sunwoo placed his hand on the central crystal core, something unexpected happened. The crystal began glowing brighter, its harmonics shifting to match his brainwave patterns. Throughout the mine, other crystals began resonating in response. "Incredible," Bora whispered. "The crystals are adapting to your mind." Above ground, similar discoveries were happening throughout the human fleet. Pilot Seok Jin was examining a damaged Valari patrol ship when he accidentally activated its control system. Instead of rejecting his commands, the crystal ship responded to his thoughts, moving with a grace and speed that amazed him. "Admiral," he reported to Jin Ho over the communication channel, This ship is reading my intentions before I even make them. It's like flying with telepathy. Dr. Taiwan studied the phenomenon from his laboratory aboard Terra's shield. The compatibility between human minds and Valari crystal technology seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. It appears that human neural activity creates resonance patterns similar to Valari thought forms, he explained to Admiral Jinho. Our species may be more compatible than we realized. On Luminos, Valari healer Hewan was treating wounded human soldiers when she made her own startling discovery. As she worked with her healing crystals, the soldiers recovered faster than should have been possible. Dr. Taiwan, she said through the translation system, human determination seems to amplify our crystal healing. The stronger their will to survive, the more effective our treatment becomes. The doctor was fascinated. Can you explain how this works? I'm not certain, Hyawan replied, her crystalline body glowing with curiosity. But human emotional energy appears to feed our crystal systems. Your people's refusal to give up actually powers our technology. As word of these discoveries spread, both species began experimenting with hybrid systems. Engineer Sun Wu and Dr. Bora worked together to create crystal-enhanced human ships. The results were extraordinary. The crystal matrix amplifies human reflexes, Sun Wu explained to Admiral Jinho. Reaction times improve by over 300%. Weapon accuracy increases dramatically, and the ships themselves become more durable. But the changes weren't only technological. Human crews working with Valari crystal systems began experiencing something new, a sense of harmony and peace that they had never known before. Captain Minho was among the first to pilot a crystal-enhanced ship. As Iron Phoenix lifted off from Luminos with Valari crystal cores integrated into its systems, he felt a calmness wash over him. It's like the anger is gone, he told his crew. I can still fight, but without the rage. It's peaceful. Engineer. Young Wu checked the ship's readings. Captain, our efficiency ratings are off the charts. Everything is working perfectly. Meanwhile, the Valari were experiencing their own transformation. Working alongside humans had exposed them to concepts of courage, determination, and protective instinct. For the first time in their species' history, some Valari were choosing to become warriors. So Young watched from the Crystal Observatory as young Valari like Yunwu trained with human soldiers. The sight should have horrified her. Her peaceful, people learning violence. Instead, she felt proud. They're not becoming killers, Dr. Taiwan assured her during one of their daily discussions. They're learning to be guardians. There's a difference. Is there? So Young asked. How do we maintain our peaceful nature while learning to fight? The same way humans do, the doctor replied. By remembering what you're fighting for. The hybrid technology development accelerated as both species learned from each other. Commander Se Dongwu worked with Valari engineers to create crystal-enhanced battle armor for his Void Reapers. The suits made his soldiers faster and stronger, while also protecting them from the psychological trauma of combat. It's like wearing serenity, reported Sergeant Hyejin after testing the new armor. I can fight without losing myself to the violence. But the most significant breakthrough came when young Yujin, a human technician, achieved something unprecedented. While working deep in the crystal networks, his consciousness somehow merged temporarily with the Valari computer systems. Could see everything, he told Dr. Taiwan afterward. Every ship, every person, every crystal formation. For a moment, I was connected to the entire planet. Dr. Bora studied the readings from Yujin's experience. This suggests the possibility of permanent human-Valari consciousness integration. A true hybrid being. The implications were staggering. Two species that had evolved on opposite sides of the violence spectrum were discovering they could combine their strengths while minimizing their weaknesses. Admiral Jin Ho observed these developments with growing amazement. His fleet had come to save the Valari from the Kreth. Instead, they had found something far more valuable, a partnership that made both species stronger. Dr. Taiwan, he said during a command briefing, what you're describing sounds like evolution in real time. That's exactly what it is, the doctor replied. The Valari give us peace and enhanced technology. We give them courage and protective instinct. Together, we're becoming something greater than either species alone. As reports of the hybrid developments reached Earth and other human worlds, excitement grew throughout human space. The Volari weren't just allies. They were partners in a new form of existence, but news of the human-Volari partnership also spread to other parts of the galaxy. Species that had ignored the Volari distress call began to take notice. Some were curious about these Deathworlders who fought to protect strangers. Others were concerned about the implications of such a powerful alliance. And in the depths of space, the scattered remnants of the Kreth swarm carried news of their defeat to others of their kind. For the first time in their species' history, they had encountered prey that fought back successfully. The galaxy was beginning to learn about humanity, and humans were discovering they weren't alone in their desire to protect the innocent. On Luminos, as the crystal cities glowed with new patterns that reflected both Volari harmony and human determination, two species prepared to face whatever challenges the galaxy might bring.